Okay, you ready?
I am ready,
All right.
I think.
Okay, just look into the camera there.
Okay.
This Christmas, Mom and I thought it would be nice to share the gift of Helen Elaine Farnham Garvey with each of you. I've written up some questions that she has not heard till now, and we hope her answers will afford everyone an opportunity to learn more about the person inside the beautiful lady we all know as Mom or Grandma. So, Elaine, are you ready for some questions?
I am ready.
All right. In what year were you born, and what is your earliest childhood memory?
I was born in 1923. My earliest childhood memory was my mother decorating my doll carriage with that stretchy paper they use for an Easter parade, and I won first prize. It was yellow and green. I remember it well.
What was your life like for you when you were a child?
It was a little lonely because I was an only child and my playmates were cousins. They lived behind me. So whenever there was a threesome, it was those two against me. I always lost, but they were still good friends.
What did your parents do for work, and what did your grandparents do for work?
Do for work?
Yeah.
Well, my mother was into gardening, and my father was a police sergeant. My mother had a greenhouse, in fact. And while I'm bragging, she also wrote for Horticulture magazine in Boston.
That's very impressive. How about your grandparents? What did they do for work?
My grandparents, on my father's side, they were farmers, and they had a regular farm plus a lumber mill. And my mother's mom and dad came from England, and really, I'm not sure what they did, except my grandfather made great root beer. Homemade root beer, I remember that.
Well, that's important.
And my grandmother was a very good cook. And they had a great garden, an English garden.
With all the flowers?
With all the English flowers.
Oh, beautiful.
And they had a hen coop. And in the hen coop, there was a peach tree those peaches, I've never had any like them since. They were terrific.
And the peach tree was inside the hen coop?
Inside the hen coop, well
Nice.
fertilized. Yep.
Nice. What were your best and worst subjects in school, and why?
Oh, golly. My worst is easy to remember, geometry. However, Mr. Cavallero was a very good teacher. And he evidently liked girls because he passed me. My best subject was English.
English?
Mm-hmm.
Is that because you are English?
No, that's because I had an English teacher that liked me too.
Oh, well, you're likable. Did you receive an allowance as a child? And if so, how much?
No, I don't think I received an allowance. I grew up during very hard times. When we ordered coal for the furnace, we only ordered a quarter of a ton. It was like all we could afford at the time. But, now what was the question again?
Did you get an allowance?
No, I don't think I got an allowance.
But
if I needed anything, I asked for it.
If you did happen to get money, would you spend it or save it?
I never got it back then. First time I remember getting allowances when I was in nursing school, and my grandmother Farnham sent me like $1 a week or something. That was my spending money.
That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it was.
What were you like when you were 15?
Crazy in love with a junior boy in high school. the one and only Edward.
Would you prefer to have an adventure or read about one?
I think I'd rather have it. Unfortunately, I usually read about it.
If you could thank anyone, who would you thank and why?
Oh Lord, that list could go on and on and on. I couldn't begin to thank the people that have helped me. Starting with my children, my husband, of course, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, friends, neighbors. Unfortunate.
What was one of the riskiest things you have ever done?
The riskiest? Oh golly. I'm not very adventuresome. I think the first time I went skiing down Boston Hill, that was the riskiest thing I've ever done.
This is a tough one, so think about it. Do you have any regrets? And if so, would you be willing to share?
Yeah, I have regrets when my mother's concerned. She's a very difficult woman sometimes, and I could have been more kind.
I think you were extremely kind to your mother. Some people it's easier.
Yeah.
But you gave her everything. I was there, I saw. And you know what? We all have regrets.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sure.
What simple pleasure in life did you truly enjoy?
What?
Simple pleasure. Didn't cost anything, just a simple pleasure that gave you joy.
Simple pleasure. A simple pleasure to me is having a really interesting book I'm reading and having peace and quiet looking out at the woods.
Getting lost in the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you alluded to this a little earlier, but how did you meet Dad? What attracted you to him? And what things did you and he have in common? So the first one, how did you meet him?
I met Dad in the high school corridor where he stood in the same place every lunchtime and stole my candy bar as I walked by. He did.
He must have liked you.
He was trying to make a point, yeah.
What attracted you to him?
Well, that's a good question. Well, probably the fact that he took my candy bar made me notice him. And I don't know, it was just mutual from there.
And what did you and he have in common?
What did we have in common? Well, that's not easy. I didn't play hockey or baseball or football. So it must have been the candy bar. I don't know.
Both like candy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What was life like in the Great Depression?
My memory is of being a little girl and Christmas coming around and my mom and dad being very apologetic because they could only get me one gift. And they asked me what I wanted, and I had seen a hat and a scarf. It was blue. I remember it was blue and white and very soft. And I wanted that for Christmas, and I got it.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That must have made your Christmas.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I can imagine life must have been very difficult for so many back then.
It was tough, yeah.
How do you think your life experiences molded you as a person?
Well, golly. I think probably one of the best experiences is being a nursing student. And you kind of meet all kinds of people in different situations and disciplines. You have to be disciplined. Um, that probably motivated me most,
Nice.
beside my parents, of course.
Of course. How is the world different today compared to when you were a child?
Oh my goodness. Essex Street, Lawrence is an open road now. When I was a child, it had little carriages running up and down in tracks. That's one difference I remember. Everything is different. I couldn't begin to tell you. Just everything.
Who is the person who influenced your life the most and why? Who's someone that stands out?
Influenced my life the most. Well, this may seem odd, but it was my grandmother Farnham, who was she was a hard-working farm woman, took care of the farm hands and my grandfather, and she was very strict in her way, but very fair, didn't show much emotion. Her emotion was putting me on her shoe and bouncing me up and down the air, singing Trot Trot to Boston. That was her emotion. But it was there all the time. All the time.
And what part of her influenced you? What lessons did you get out of watching her lead her life?
You could buy day-old donuts because they were less expensive.
And just as good.
And just as good every night with cocoa. Yeah. Very good. She was a very frugal woman, but she had to be, you know.
That's how she survived.
Very fair, too.
What world events had the most impact on you? You've been through a lot of world events in your lifetime. Which
The
one
bombing of Pearl Harbor.
The bombing of Pearl Harbor? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it came as such a shock. It was one day you were just at peace with everybody, and then everything changed. Everything changed. You know?
How did your life change?
Well, for one thing, you couldn't get gasoline very easily, so you didn't travel very far. I think the economics of it probably affected me the most. Though as a child, I probably didn't even realize it, but I think it did. Yeah.
Did you feel scared that something like that would happen?
No,
No.
I don't know why, but I never felt scared.
That's good. Is there anything you regret not having asked your parents?
Having asked my parents.
Not having asked. Something you wish you had asked them or talked to them about while they were alive?
Yeah, there's one thing. It haunts me to this day. What did they do every weekend when they put me to one grandmother's or the other and went off? Where did they go and what did they do? I wonder to this day.
And you never asked?
No. Gosh, no. That's privacy.
Oh, okay. Well, you may have answered your own question. What is your best advice when it comes to raising children? You've got a lot of grandchildren, great-grandchildren. What's one word of advice
One
to them?
word.
Or one thing that really molds children well?
Trying to get both sides of the story without showing any preference. Be sure you have all sides of the story.
All the facts.
Yep.
That's a good one. Do you think you're more like your mother or your father? And in what ways?
I think I'm more like my father and that I'm more easygoing. My mother was very intense. I don't know. I guess I tend to lean toward my father. I may be very intense, but I don't realize it.
No, I don't think you're intense. And you are a daddy's girl. As you look back over your life, what do you feel are the most important lessons you've learned?
That I've learned? Well, I think what I just said, trying to be fair, trying to get all sides, all points of view before you make a decision. And that can be very difficult to do. It's hard to get a fair, it's hard.
Well, that's true because people's truth is in their perception of things.
Right,
And everyone's
it's true,
perception
too.
is different.
Yeah.
So it's
And you
just
can't
as
always
real
be
to
right.
one person as it is to the other.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the major values or principles you always lived by? What got you through?
Golly, that's a hard one.
Take your time.
Well, I have tried to be fair. I don't think I always have been. In fact, I know I haven't always been, but I've tried. That's hard. It's like why you love one child more than the other, and you don't. You love them all equally in different ways. So you just can't answer that question.
Okay. Although you know you love me best. we can cut the tape off and you can tell me after. How would you like to be remembered?
As loving you very much, all of you, all my kids, my husband, my family, grandkids, great-grandkids. I've been blessed. I'm
So
truly
have we.
blessed.
So have we. And one last question. I told you this wouldn't be too bad. Is there anything else you'd like to say to your family?
Oh, there's so much I'd like to say to each one of them.
Well, take your time.
No. Right now, what tops in my mind is Eric, and Laura. Thank you for the lovely planter you did for Christmas.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
about to write a thank you note, but I'll do it publicly. And all of you, I thank you for being here at Christmas. It's very precious to me. I love you all very much.
We love you. Thank you for sharing yourself with us in this video. We're blessed to have you as our matriarch, and we cherish and value your wisdom and all you've provided us in life.
Thank you, babe.
Thank you. We love you.
You survived.